there was question about different techniques of meditation or different tradition or how to practice together when you did something different. Can somebody say something about that? So I know the exact thing you want to look at.
We were just thinking about, we know there are many different ways to practice meditation. So some people have learnt mindfulness of the breath, in which they count the breath to 10 and then go back to 0 or 1 and count again. Some people do it. We've learnt the metta meditation. And we're also familiar with the open meditation technique that Jason Siff and Linda Madaro recommend, which is just sitting with our thoughts and then reflecting on them and journaling. And of course, we know about the body scan. Is there any others I've left out that you want to? No? Oh, and then of course, you know, there's a classic meditations like just focusing on the breath at the end of the nose. So really what we're looking from you is your experience of meditation, the different techniques, and if you like, the benefits of them, or what we can expect from those different techniques, and so we can get an impression of what would be useful for us.
Okay, I think in a way, when I started to practice in Korea, I was doing something very different that none of you have tried before, very likely, which is asking a question and just doing that. Nothing to do with mindfulness, with body scanning, with watching the thought, or with watching the breath. And then after doing that for 10 years, then I went back to Europe, and then lots of my friends were doing insight meditation, vipassana meditation, mindfulness meditation. And so I tried that method, and I thought it was a very good method. And what I could see trying this other method is that in a way, we have different techniques. And then even each technique, people might teach it in a different way. Like for the breath, you have different people who will tell you to watch the breath in a different way. Then to watch the thought, to be with the thought, people will teach you that in different way. Open awareness, different people will teach you this in different way. Even the body scanning, you can do it in a very precise way, you can do it in a very general way, etc., etc. So personally, I think I realized that although what I was doing, asking a question, was very different from what my friends were doing in England, in the end, we were cultivating the same thing. Because if you do any practice of meditation, basically of Buddhist meditation, you cultivate anchoring and you cultivate looking deeply. So samatha and vipassana. So in a way, when you do the anchoring, most people do the anchoring a little bit in a similar way, possibly apart from the open awareness technique. Because anchoring generally means that you come back again and again to the object, that it be the breath, that it be the body, and then with open awareness there, you just sit there. So just sitting there, in a way, is a bit the anchor. And then with the anchoring, you have to see that you could have like an inclusive type of anchoring concentration, or you could have an exclusive type. So exclusive type would be that you try to be aware, for example, of the breath or the body in a very precise manner and pushing everything away from that. And that generally can lead to good concentration, but it can also lead to tension. On the other side of that spectrum of concentration anchoring, you have just open awareness. And then in there, you have open awareness, you have in Zen, Soto Zen, just sitting, silent illumination. So here, the focus is very open, but then the danger is that you can become a little vague. So in a way, either side, you can have lots of focus, but a little tension. On the other side, you can have really wide open, but you could have vagueness. Personally, I would recommend a bit of both, insofar there is a little bit of anchoring together with a little bit of openness. But I think it's really what suits people at what time. I think there is also that question. Some people need more focus, some people need more openness, and then it depends also on their conditions. Then you have the looking deeply. Looking deeply basically is being aware of the change, of the condition. And so in terms of being aware of the breath, you can be aware that the breath come in cooler, come out warmer. In terms of being aware of the body, you notice how the sensation change, either they come and go or they change within themselves. Then in terms of being aware of thoughts, like open awareness with being aware of thought and journaling, then here the idea with the looking deeply is to see very clearly what you are thinking, how you are thinking. So in a way, the experiential inquiry can take different forms in a way. And again, some might suit you better than others at different times. And so in a way, you cultivate the two, anchoring and looking deeply, because the cultivation is just doing that. And the effect, I would say, the anchoring helps you to become more calm and more spacious, and then create more space, especially in the mind. And then the looking deeply generally brings clarity, maybe brings some openness as well. So then, personally, I think then you have these two capacities which are then cultivated through different techniques. And then it's a little bit, what do I do? Do I do the technique because that's what I've been told? And then I think when you, whatever technique you're doing, you need to see if over time it seems to help you. And so in a way, the thing would be, does it help me over time to be more calm, to be more open, to be more clear? Doesn't mean that when you sit in meditation, you might necessarily become more calm and clear. It just depends on your condition. So I think what we, like for example, sometimes people who are asthmatic, they watch the breath, and that actually doesn't suit them, some of them, because it gives them headache. So then the body scanning or listening meditation would be better for them. So I think in a way, it's a little bit what, like personally, one of the meditation I like is listening meditation. But if you got tinnitus ringing in the ears, that might not be a good meditation when you're sitting in a room in silence. So in a way, you have to see what suits me, what fits. And also maybe looking a little bit at why am I meditating? You know, what is it I hope for? What is it I want to cultivate? So if you want to cultivate more openness, then the open awareness would be better. If you want to cultivate becoming more aware of your thought, then you do looking at the thought. If you want to cultivate more calm, then if it suits you, watching the breath can be helpful. If you want to be kind of cultivating more groundedness, then being aware of the body can be useful. So then you have, you know, what seems to suit you, which means that over time it makes sense, you can do it, and it seems to be helpful. And then there is what at different time could come in useful. For example, if you feel very agitated, then maybe stopping, taking a few deep breaths, being mindful of the breath could be helpful. If you feel very disembodied, very kind of caught in your thought, then sometimes just coming back to the body, to the feet, could be useful. So again, I think it's kind of like what suits you also. It's when we sit in meditation, like for example, if you sit at home regularly, the question is a little bit, do I just trust where my attention goes? So I sit down, and if my attention go to my breath, that's what I do. If my attention go to my thought, that's what I do. Or to the open awareness, that's what I do. So I trust my attention. Or is it that I want to cultivate something specifically? And then, for example, for a week, you could do loving kindness meditation, metta meditation. Another week, you could do just open awareness. Another week, you could just do the breath. And then you could see, does it make a difference or not? So that's my beginning suggestion. And then you can tell me if you have more comments or questions.
Martine, I'm Alex. Question. It sounds a bit like almost like you've got like a kitchen cabinet of different kind of meditations for different things. Do you have like a list somewhere? Like, is there like, if I wanted to find like a resource of like, hey, look, here's the right meditation for the right circumstance. Can you recommend any resources to help me match up those different things?
So actually, because you see, this is a little bit the way I teach. Because personally, I am more interested in teaching for daily life. So in teaching for daily life, then generally I will bring different methods a little bit within a certain framework. And so the two books that Ramsey mentioned, Meditation for Life, again, you have the different method explained, and also in Let Go, again, you have the different method and what they can be useful for. So I would say that's where you could find that in those terms, because otherwise, a lot of the time, people will do specific things. So if, for example, one is really interested in the breath, then the best book for that is Larry Rosenberg, because he has written a book, short book, Breath by Breath, excellent on that. Or if you look at Sharon Salzberg, has written a fantastic book about loving kindness meditation. So sometimes you get kind of just one thing. But these two books I mentioned, Meditation for Life and Let Go, are very kind of have these different methods explained.
Hi Martine, I'm Lindley. It was very interesting to hear how you altered your meditation techniques, because I've always kind of thought you choose one and stick to it, perhaps do one metta meditation a week, but otherwise stick to your normal practice. And I just wondered, do you change other elements of your practice as well? For example, would you change the time you meditated, the time of day, the amount of time you meditated for? Do you find other changes to the routine of meditation helpful?
So I would say that this is really up to the person, because I think people have different lives. So some people, people have different temperament and people have different lives. So some people like really a lot of rigor. And so these people, and often they do a Goenka Vipassana meditation, it seems. So the only people I know who sit no matter what, either are Zen people trained by the Japanese style, or are Goenka people. And so there you have, I have encountered a few of those, but not so many, where the person, no matter what happened, they sit every day at the same time. So, and it could suit some people to do that because it's their temperament and their life allows it to happen. Otherwise, it seems to me that generally one finds in one's life a better time to do it and a length which fits one's life, because there is no point in trying to sit for an hour every day if you have, a big family, lots of responsibility and work. Unlikely you'll find an hour a day. So in a way that I think the timing and the length is very much according to the time one has. So I would nearly say it's better to do 10 minutes where you can really do it than 30 minutes where you worried all the time about, I need to do this, I need to do that. So then people generally find that one time they can do it and the length which is reasonable. That's what I found people, and it seemed to me it makes sense to do it according to your life. Some people have a more kind of less regular life. So then they find that sometime they'll do it in the morning, sometime in the evening, sometime twice a day, sometime once a day. And again, I think it's according to their lifestyle, to what happened in their life. After that, I think we have to see that often you get a good rhythm. Some people find a good rhythm. They sit every day about the same time. And then at some point, either they become ill, they go on holiday, they have guests, etc., and then they stop. And the problem is that then they want to go back to where they were before, maybe sitting every day for 30 minutes. And it could be that they're too tired or that circumstances don't allow it. And so generally, I would say come back to something shorter, maybe 10 minutes every day, and then possibly you can build up again to 30 minutes. And also, I think it's to see you have the formal meditation where you sit or stand. And I think also to remember you have the four posture of standing, sitting, lying down, and walking. And then I think it's important to possibly time to time change. Like if you sit all day in your work, it could be good to do some walking meditation. And for example, one can do walking meditation at lunchtime. It could bring a break. Again, if one is ill, lying down meditation might make more sense. So I think it's important also to remember the other posture and also to see in my daily life, how can I bring it if I need it? So that maybe not to just think, oh, I meditate when I sit at home for 20 minutes, but maybe in the day, maybe 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, as a way to bring some space within it. And then that can be very much depending on your life. If your life is very busy, then you could nearly say the more busy you are, then the more you need to have these breaks, in a way, and kind of just short break of a few breaths or a minute, then sometimes can kind of bring some stability within the day. So I think also to think about that, what I call informal meditation. How can I bring it in? But also time to time to use, coming back to the breath or coming back to the body, or even the way we listen to others. That also can become a meditation. So I think in a way you have the formal, but I think we also need to cultivate the informal in different ways. And then you can look then at specific mindfulness and general mindfulness. And also the quality of the mindfulness. Because in a way, mindfulness in daily life, what is very important is you bring a caring, a kind attitude, a friendly attitude to whatever goes on. So in a way, not to use a mindfulness to attack oneself or others, for example, but really to help us to bring that kind attitude, and also mindfulness to make us try to be in what's going on now. So then you can have a more generalized mindfulness, which is a little equivalent to the open awareness. And then time to time you can have more specific mindfulness, looking at thought, looking at sensation, looking at emotion. So again, we can practice the mindfulness also with a kind of wider angle or a more kind of precise angle.
Anybody else have any questions? My turn. Martine, could you say please about feeling tone, the Vedanas, and the difference between feeling tone and emotion?
So this is something which personally I am very interested in. And if you're interested in that, I did a conference in July, just with the theme of feeling tone in IMS, in America, a small conference. And so if you were interested in that, you could get the link in Dharma Seeds of the papers presented and things. So the idea of the feeling tone is in a way to put the attention not just on contact, because generally with mindfulness, we try to be aware of the point of contact when we hear something, see something, smell something, taste something, feel something, sense something in the body, and also contact with the thought. And I think that's a little bit what Jason do, is kind of just being in contact with the thought. So that generally a lot of the mindfulness is about contact, just being aware of the contact at that point. Contact of the breath, contact sensation. But then immediately at the same time you have contact, you immediately have like a tonality of experience. It has a certain pleasant, unpleasant, or neither. So we could call it neutral. So if you look around you in the room you are, I can see there is wood, and very likely if you look at wood, you're a little pleasant feeling tone. Then if you look at colors, you can look, maybe there is some yellow behind, then there is some white, then there is a color of the floor, and very likely you have a slightly different tonality when you look at white, yellow, or like, I mean, what is good is if you look at kind of a definite green, definite red, definite blue, or definite yellow. Like you have a sharp color, it's very interesting. The color has not done anything to you, but immediately you have a little, I like this. Ooh, I don't know about that. And it's just a color. So in a way, Vedana is actually just, you could call it hedonic tone, affective tone, is a kind of like a tone, a color that you experience upon contact. And that's the second foundation of mindfulness. That's the second thing, in a way, to be aware of. And the Buddha says it's very important because we have very automatic reaction to tonality, to this coloring. If it's pleasant, we want more. If it's unpleasant, we don't want it. And if it's neutral, if we don't understand it, we think it's boring, then it becomes unpleasant. If we understand it, it becomes restful, then it can become pleasant. So in a way, but this is quite subtle. So when we sit in meditation, you can do that meditation of just trying to be aware of the tonality, not as describing it, but more as trying to be in tune with that quality of experience. But in daily life, it's, I would say, a little easier to become aware of the tonality. Like if you're in front of a pile of rubbish, how does it feel? If you see a beautiful view, how does it feel? If you come out and it's cold, how does it feel? If you come out, it's very warm, how does it feel? I mean, eating. When you eat something, it is very definite. You eat something, it looks good. So pleasant tonality. You eat it and suddenly it's so bitter, unpleasant tonality. So then, but this is a whole huge subject. But that's what I can say in brief.
I've got a follow-up question to that. A lot of people find difficulty getting in touch with their emotions. Do you think it's easier to get them in touch with the feeling tones as a route into the emotions when they're meditating?
Well, I think the problem with trying to be, you see, I would make this kind of a difference between you have the contact, immediately you have the tonality, then that can become a feeling sensation. Then you feel it more in the body. That can become an emotion, and then that can become a disturbing emotion. But personally, I would say most of the time, unless something terrible is happening to somebody or something fantastic is happening to somebody, when you sit in meditation, you're not going to feel very much. So I think in a way you have to be careful there. Because if you ask somebody to be in tune with their emotion, what does that mean? Because you see, if somebody, even somebody who doesn't possibly seems to be in tune with their emotion, if they see, let's say, ordinary and relatively okay, they see a child, makes them happy. They see a cat, makes them happy. Somebody kind of bump into their car, they become angry. So in a way, people generally have emotions. Then the question is, do they see them coming? Do they see them coming? Because you see, I think there is different type. There is 3 levels, you could say, of the emotional life. You have live emotion. Then you have habitual emotion. And then you have intense emotion. And this is all very different. Light is when, you might be mildly happy, mildly irritated, mildly fearful. And that, I think, might be the easiest to look at in terms of, can I become more aware of the feeling sensation in the body? So just to be aware, 1 minute I don't feel anything and it's more neutral, and then something happens. And then I feel a little something. Where do I feel it? Do I feel it in the heart? Do I feel it in the belly? Do I feel it somewhere else? Somebody was telling me they felt their emotion in their shoulders. So in a way, you have to kind of locate this kind of like feeling sensation. And then you have to see, I have a tendency to react in a certain way emotionally. So one can become sad, or one can become anxious, one can become angry, one can become happy, whatever it is. So you have certain, and so what becomes interesting is, when is it I feel it and when is it I don't? And then starting to become interested in how does it feel in the whole body and mind, but more with the habitual is, when does it happen? That is interesting to look in terms of that. And then the intense one, when something happens and you explode, or you're totally afraid, or whatever it is, then then you can really feel it in the whole body and mind. And then generally it's so overpowering, it's really hard to be mindful of it. But what can be interesting is by creating a little space, for example, by coming back to the breath or to the body or whatever, or metta meditation, loving kindness meditation, to not amplify the emotion. So then you can see it more how it works. How does it feel in the body? How does it feel in the mind? So personally, I would look at the different angle. But yeah, I think if we're more aware of the feeling tone, anyway, we will be more aware of that aspect of our life. How we are affected by things, and how that then spread.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
Martine, it's Raj here. You talked about sleeping meditation. Talked about sleeping meditation, or lying meditation. When you're lying.
So what about sleeping meditation?
Lying meditation, when you're lying down. There's 4 postures, like lying, standing, walking.
Okay.
Lying down?
Yeah. So lying down posture in Buddhism, traditionally, you had to do it on the side like that. Like often you see picture of the Buddha when he's lying down, he's on the side, his head like this. But personally, it keeps you awake, but it's very uncomfortable. And so generally you're lying down because you have pain in your body in some way. So I would personally recommend just, if it suits you, lying on your back with a, lying on your back on a bed, for example, with a little cushion if you need it. And then if it's lying down meditation, like in the day, you could do any meditation. You could do the watching the thought, you could do open awareness, you could do body scanning, listening, the breath. If it's in the daytime, you can do any meditation in that posture. So because in a way, the idea is to do the meditation in any posture, standing, same, walking, same, sitting, lying, same. So you could do the same meditation. But if it's lying down before you go to sleep, then I would generally recommend just to watch the breath and then just to be aware of the contact of the body on the sheets, on the bed. So something very relatively neutral, very simple. Otherwise, it can be hard to fall asleep. Same if you wake up in the middle of the night. But in the morning when you wake up, also you can do a little meditation and then you can do something more active, like listening to the sound or doing the whole body scanning. But generally, I think it just depends. Are you lying down in the middle of the day or are you lying down before you go to sleep? But it would be the same as you would do when you meditate, sitting up.
Martine, thank you very much for coming to New Zealand tonight. So lastly, have you got any questions for us, perhaps?
No, I think I have no question for you, but I really encourage you to, in a way, trust in your attention, trust in your intention when you do the meditation. The one thing you have to be, in a way, the question is not so much about the technique, because techniques suit different people at different times. But I would say, beware of how. I think often the difficulty is more with the effort. And so what I would encourage is what I call effortless effort. That actually you don't use the meditation to become more tense, because I need to do this right, and why is this not working or whatever. Be careful with that. And just, in a way, have certain effort, because you need a little effort so that you have a little energy, but not too much effort so that it brings tension. And I think when we do meditation, it's a little bit kind of like a balance between letting things happen, but then if you let too much thing happen, it becomes vague, and one might become sleepy, and doing enough something that it keeps you on track, but not so much that you become tense. And then I would say to also bring the attention to the body, that we don't force our body to meditate. As we meditate, can we keep a posture which is relatively, again, stable, but relatively relaxed? So I think that, to me, is actually more important than the technique itself, and more how do we do it? So there is a tension without tension. And that there is this kindness to ourselves when we do it. So,
Martine, thank you very much. I'll let everybody have a chance to say goodbye.
Thank you, Martine.
Thanks very much.
bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Martine, have a lovely day in France. We look forward to seeing you again here in New Zealand at some point, either virtually or in person. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.